everyone, welcome everyone to the daily news analysis of 5th of February 2024। तो आज के इम्पोर्टेंट आर्टिकल वन डिस्कस करते हैं। पहला जो आर्टिकल है सनशाइन इनिशिएटिव एन ऑन एंडिंग वोज माइक्रो क्रेडेंशियल द नेक्स्ट चैप्टर इन हायर एजुकेशन ऑन उत्तराखंड से यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड देन अर्गोस्फीयर मेकिंग ए ब्लैक होल वर्क। तो पहला जो आर्टिकल है सनशाइन इनिशिएटिव। फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर Nirmala Sitharaman's interim budget day speech reiterated a plan by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to supply power to 1 crore households in the country using rooftop solar panels. This would help households save 15,000 rupees annually. The minister claimed what is known so far is that households to have a monthly electricity consumption of less than 300 units a month will be able to install a mid-sized system 1 to 2 kilowatt with the government bearing the expense. This could mean a minimum outlay of 1 lakh crore as of today. Rooftop system are subsidized up to 40%, with the remainder having to borne by the consumer. Under the proposed policy, the subsidy will increase to 60% and the rest will be financed by a private developer who is affiliated to a public sector enterprise connected to the power ministry. This will ostensibly ensure quality in installation and also reliable services. There is a mechanism of net metering wherein surplus electricity produced by households can be sold back to grid to make good the loan. Though the actual way in which this is implemented can be quite complex, a monthly consumption of 300 units is partly in houses where air conditioner and heaters are a given, but by national standards is a significant metric of consumption after 80% to 85% of 25 crore to 30 crore households in India use between 100 units and 120 units of power a month on average. Therefore, finding 1 crore houses that will be eligible for the plan will not be a difficult task. The major differences from earlier solar promotions policies is that it is the center and opposed to the state power distribution companies, DISCOMs, that will be pushing for solarization. India's DISCOM, most of which are heavily loss-making, have had little incentives so far in moving high consumptions customer to decentralized solutions such as rooftop solar. Given that such DISCOMs have the best granular information about power supply at the household level, by passing them will not be a successful strategy. The center's push to give a visibility to a hitherto laggard program is welcome. After all, the move towards a decarbonized power will be half-hearted if does not involve households. So far, only 12 gigawatt out of an intended 40 gigawatt of rooftop solar panel has been installed here too. Household rooftop account for only 2.7 gigawatt, with the rest being commercial or building units. The center's move can thus galvanize a subsidiary domestic industry of solar panels. The subsidiaries will not be available for imported panels and must be tweaked in a way to be more accommodative to states, else there is a real risk that much of challenges that have impeded previous initiative will resurface. The next article is on ending Oz. The continuing arrest of fishermen from Tamil Nadu and Puducherry by Sri Lankan Navy in the Palk Bay, despite diplomatic intervention at the highest level, and the attack on them mid-sea by armed civilians are a matter of serious concern. True Indian fishermen cross into Sri Lankan water waters in search of a catch and affect the livelihood of Sri Lankan Tamil fishers. But the numbers this year are staggering. The detention of 23 fishermen and the seizure of 212 trawlers on Saturday of Delphi Island on charges of poaching has taken the number of those arrested so far this year to 69 compared to 240 the whole of the last year. Since 2013, Sri Lankan authorities have also remanded some fishermen in judicial custody for several months. This year, 34 fishermen, including 12 who were arrested last year, have been released while over 45 men remain in custody. What is distressing for the community is that the confiscating confiscation of their expensive fishing nets and vessels. This year, 10 boats were seized. By the time these boats are released through a judicial process or following diplomatic talks, most are not in a seaworthy condition. No doubt Sri Lanka is under pressure from its northern provinces fishermen to act against Tamil Nadu fishermen, so who they accuse of restoring to destructive bottom trawling, a practice banned by the control country since July 2017. While India promised to end bottom trawling in the Palk Bay and incentivize fishermen to take to deep sea fishing under the Blue Revolution scheme, bottom trawlers are still active. Fishermen also face a practical problem as under the Tamil Nadu Marine Fishing Regulation Act 1983, mechanized fishing boats are permitted to fish only beyond 3 nautical miles from the coast. Since the distance between Dhanushkodi and international maritime boundary line is only 9 nautical miles, breaches do occur. A point the Sri Lankan Navy should not overlook. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized in 2015, the tension over fishing must be handled as a humanitarian concern. Unfortunately, neither side had demonstrated consistently in the handling of the issue. In November 2016, the countries had agreed upon a joint working group (JWG) on fisheries that would meet every 3 months and also have a biannual meeting of the ministries of fisheries. But the JWG has held just 5 sittings, the last one being in 2022. Tangible and targeted extension is needed to encourage deep sea fishing. Bottom trawling being given up and the issue resolved with mutual compassion and periodic talks. Following this, the Palk Bay would remain perilous territory for Indian fishermen. The next article is micro credential, the next chapter in the higher education. Higher education institutions in India must play a much more active role in ensuring that students become employable by connecting them with the career and job opportunities of tomorrow. This is because there is a gap between the knowledge and that students acquire in HEI, the knowledge they must have in order to become employable. Micro credentials are emerging as a disruptive way of bridging this gap to acquire just in time modern skills and competencies. They are evolving as the new normal in higher education due to their flexibility, accessibility, and advantage. It must be noted that hiring practices are also changing with a tendency to prioritize skills over degrees, and that the endorsement of micro credential is on the rise. The essence of micro credential. What are micro credentials? They are short duration learning activities with proof of specific learning outcomes that are validated through a standard and reliable assessment process. Micro credentials are offered in online, physical, and hybrid modes at various levels such as beginning, intermediate, and advanced. In contrast to micro credential, students must study for several years to obtain macro credentials such as undergraduate degrees. In addition, micro Credentials can also be designed for lifelong learners, that is, working professionals who may not be able to attend a formal degree program in a university. Micro credentials as a path to lifelong learning are still developing. An obvious sign of this is how assorted terminologies such as digital badges, micro master degrees, nano degrees, and online certificates are being used for this short duration learning. Multiple players such as Atingi, Alisons.com, Credly, Coursera, EDX, FutureLearn, Google, LinkedIn, Microsoft, PwC, and Udacity offer micro credentials. Many universities in Australia, Canada, Europe, and the United Kingdom and the United States are also engaged in providing micro credentials. More organizations are expected to join this growing club. Informal degree program conducted by HEI credits are used to assign value to different form of learning, lectures, tutorials, laboratory work, seminars, projects, internship, and so on. In such macro credential programs, courses are generally designed to be of 3 or 4 credits, and one credit corresponds to 1 hour of lecture or 2 hours of lab work per week. Therefore, in a conventional education program, credit is associated with the time spent in a classroom or lab. However, in micro credentials, the trend is to associate the credit with the notional hours spent acquiring a defined minimum competency, as this makes micro credentials credit as a consistent with those conventional higher education. They can be universally validated and recognized. Regardless of this, what is required is clear quality benchmarking and a regulation of these micro credentials to prevent significant divergence in learning outcomes and facilitate their easy endorsement in the workplace. And higher education institutes, India now has a national credit framework which spells out learning outcomes and corresponding credits a student should accumulate in order to progress it to the next level of learning. One of the primary benefit of micro credential is that they are portable and stackable on a digital platform such as the academic bank of credits. Fostering trust is a key step to ensure that micro-credential denotes a genuine acquisition of skills. They must be aligned with higher education standards in the areas of delivery, assessment, grading, and the awarding of qualifications. Our capacity to devise reliable assessment methods is critical in fostering trust in micro credentials. And in this task, the association of HEIs is of a great importance for students in Indian university. Micro credential can open up opportunities in integrating diverse skills as a part of their regular education, or they can store the credits on the ABC platform for redemption later, or to get a separate certificate or diploma in addition to their macro credentials. Depending on the duration and the learning outcomes, micro credentials can be given as between 1 to 5 credits short module, or learners can accumulate multiple short modules to earn the total number of credits required to obtain a degree as specified in the NCRF. There is much potential as the NCRF is being implemented across the country. It is the right time for the Indian HEI to plan to develop micro credentials in partnership with industry. The NCRF offers an opportunity for HEIs to examine the development of credit-based micro credential as part of regular degree programs. Broader deliberations must take place on the potential impact of micro credential and the additional value they can create in the tertiary education system. Is there enough demand for micro credential in India? With the focus of the National Education Policy 2020 on providing skills education to students right from schools to the higher levels, and with employers looking For young employees with adequate skills and competencies to boost productivity, learners are increasingly viewing micro-credential as a value-added advantages. Therefore, millions of students could be looking to earn micro-credentials either as standalone credits or as a component or their standard higher education. Indian HEIs must serve as agents of transformation and consider introducing micro-credentials is a vital element of their strategic institutional objectives. Further to this, regulators HEI must work towards harmonizing micro-credentials with existing academics programs by coming up with clear validation metrics. The next article is on Uttarakhand Uniform Civil Code. The Uttarakhand Assembly is likely to pass the state's Uniform Civil Code bill during its 4 day long session. This week, a state-appointed panel constituted to a draft by the UCC submitted its final report to the Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami on February 2. The report has also been passed by the state cabinet. The introduction of UCC was a key poll promise of the BJP in the run-up to the 2022 elections in Uttarakhand. What does a UCC aim to do? A UCC seeks to create a uniform set of law to replace the distinct personal laws of every religion pertaining to subjects such as marriage, divorce, adoption, and inheritance. This stems from Article 44 of the Constitution, which mandates that the citizen a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. The provision is a part of directive principle of state policy, which also not enforceable play a pivotal role in governance. Whether in provision should be included as a fundamental right or a directive principle was the subject of intense debate in India's Constituent Assembly. Opponents feared that it would dilute the right of religious minorities in India and destroy its diversity. Member Nizaruddin Ahmad from Bengal argued that it would come in the way of Article 19 of the draft constitution, now Article 25, which guarantees the fundamental right to the freedom of religion subject to reasonable restrictions such as public order, morality, and health. He also emphasized that such a uniform set of laws could not be implemented without securing the consent of the concerned communities. On the other hand, member K. M. Munshi contended that a UCC would not defeat the principle of freedom of religion since the state is empowered to make laws related to religious practices if they were intended for social reforms. He highlighted various benefits such as promoting equality for women since personal law often prevent practices against women. Taking a more ambivalent stance, Dr. B. R. Ambedkar said that although a UCC was desirable, it should remain purely voluntary during the initial stage. He stated that since the provision was merely recommendatory, would not be imposed upon all citizens. The matter was settled by 4 is to 5 majority vote with the subcommittee on fundamental rights headed by the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel deciding that establishing a UCC should not fall within fundamental rights. What about the Uttarakhand UCC? In June 2022, the Uttarakhand government constituted an expert committee headed by former Supreme Court Judge Justice Ranjana Prakash Desai to examine ways for the implementation of UCC. The move followed by Mr. Dhami's promise that he would implement a UCC in the state if re-elected. The committee was supposed to submit its report in November 2022, but the deadline was extended multiple times despite the Chief Minister announcing in June last year that a draft UCC was ready. Right from the start, the proposal has been met with opposition from rival Rival political parties, Congress representatives from the state have alleged that the move in the BJP poll blanks that it want to keep keep the pot simmering the to polarize voters ahead of the general election. Pritam Singh, one of the two scheduled tribes MLA of the state, pointed out earlier that the tribal community, which comprises 2.9% of the state population, had not contended the UCC. The Gujar tribe, a Muslim nomadic tribe with population of around 60,000 has also expressed apprehensions over the law. What changes can be expected? The draft UCC is set to focus on gender equality by introducing provisions that treat men and women equally, especially in matters pertaining to inheritance. It will also revoke practices governing marriage and divorce, such as polygamy, the mandatory period of waiting to be observed by women following the dissolution of a Muslim marriage, and a triple talaq. The code is also likely to extend an equally property share to Muslim women against the existing 25% share accorded under Muslim personal law. However, the minimum age for marriage for men and women is set to remain the same: 18 years for women and 21 years for men. Other issues such as divorce, marriage, registration, adoption, and social security for aging parents will also be covered under the law. The committee has reportedly also prescribed the mandatory registrations of live-in relationships. Speaking to the media last year, Mr. Dhamik clarified that the proposed UCC was not aimed at appeasing any particular community but was instead aimed at empowering all sections of the society. After its implementation, reservation of any class, material rights, customs, etc. will not be affected, but he assured. What has the Supreme Court said? Over the years, the Supreme Court has the deliberated option on UCC several judgments but refused to issue any directive to government. Since lawmaking falls within the executive domain of Parliament, in its 1985 judgment in the Sahabanu Begum case, the court observed that it is a matter of regret that Article 44 has remained a dead letter and called for its implementation. Such as demand reiterated in the subsequent cases such as Sarala Mudgal versus Union of India, John Bholamatam versus Union of India, among others, reviving the push for UCC 6 between 21 and 22, seeking uniformity in divorce, maintenance, and alimony laws on the ground that they discriminated against women, thereby violating Article 14 and Article 15. Article 14 and Article 15 against the discrimination. Some of the petitioners included BJP leader and advocate Ashwini Upadhyay and former councillor of Maulana Azad National Urdu University Firoz Ahmad Bhakt, among others. However, in March last year, a bench headed by CJI D.Y. Chandrachud dismissed these petitions by observing that such issues fall within that exclusive domain of Parliament. In January last year, the court dismissed a petition challenging the Uttarakhand government move to set up an expert committee on the UCC by highlighting that Article 162 permits the exercise of such powers. Article 162 permits the exercise of such powers. Article 162 of that constitution indicates that the executive power of a state extends to matter with respect to which legislature of the state has power to make laws in views of the provisions of entry 5 of the concurrent list of 7th schedule. The constitution of committee per se cannot be challenged say ultra vires. The order read entry 5 of the concurrent list deals with marriage and divorce, infant and minors adoption, which intestacy and succession, joint family and partition all matter in respect of which partisan judicial proceedings were immediately before the commencement of this constitution, source to their personal law. So friends, this is all for today and we will meet from tomorrow onwards with new news articles to till then. Thank you a lot. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.